Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catch Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And, we're going to, just kind of catch up and see where we all been, see that Jake still hasn't watched Tribbles.
Or you never know.
We don't know.
You'll never know.
We don't know.
I'm going to drop it like it's hot.
We're
going to
find out. We're going to be like 5 minutes away from ending one of these episodes, and he's going to be like, oh, by the way, Trouble with Trizzle was awesome.
Trouble with Trizzle.
That was my shit.
Something that you have seen that wasn't quite your shit. Since the last episode, you finally saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and you were not as,
No,
you enjoyed it.
Is that true?
I enjoyed it a lot. I think I went in and I was like, this is going to be my favorite Marvel movie of all time, blah, blah, blah. No, I liked it a lot. I think the problem was, I come out and was like, oh, I didn't like that or this or that or whatever. And people were like, oh, you didn't like Guardians? Fuck yourself.
But you didn't love Rocket Raccoon.
No, I love Rocket Raccoon. I enjoyed the movie a lot. I mean, my favorite character was Star-Lord, but I think I knew that going in.
Because of Chris Pratt and all
Yeah,
that.
I like Chris Pratt a lot. And
you think he's sexy?
Yeah. And the only
think I'm sexy.
And the only stuff
I don't
I'd
even
really
like
read
Rod
that's
Stewart.
Guardian stuff is like solo Star-Lord, so I had a very minor knowledge of that character, but that's even more, compared to everyone else. I thought, I'm not the biggest Bradley Cooper fan. I mean, I like some of his movies, but I thought he was like astounding as Rocket.
Yeah, like me and Chris were saying last week that if we didn't know it was Bradley Cooper voicing Rocket Raccoon, we never would have been
Yeah, he
able
was
to
so
guess.
good. And I knew Vin Diesel was going to be great as Groot because I'd seen Iron Giant. I knew that he could do a lot with a little with his
he the
voice.
in the Giant and Iron
Yeah,
Giant?
he was the Iron Giant.
Oh,
Mhm.
shit. Oh. I still haven't seen that movie.
Oh,
I hear
man.
it has a very
He
sad
that
ending.
should be your
says,
solo
it should, but we'd all be crying like babies.
Yeah.
There's a one word
It's
he's
just going to be us.
well the power
That's why
of,
we can never do Field of Dreams.
yeah the power of Vin Diesel's voice is that there's one word he says in Iron Giant that'll leave you crying like a baby, and I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but
Thank you.
it's an astounding
I
movie.
mean, it's like a 10-year-old movie, so what the hell's wrong with these
Yeah.
people?
Also, you know who directed The Iron Giant?
I do
Brad
not.
Bird.
Brad Bird, director of The Incredibles and Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
Very diverse selection,
That's
Mr.
right.
Bird.
So yeah, no, I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I know a lot of people were like, when I told them, I was like, oh, for me, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is still my favorite movie of the year, but everyone was like ready to beat the crap out of me for saying that. But yeah, no, I like Guardians a lot.
And, of course, in the interim, you've also seen, Let's Be Cops, Chris?
Yeah, I got to
you
go.
did?
Yeah, officially it doesn't come out for another week or so, but I got to go see.
I think, yeah.
I got to go see a special pre-screening of it, and it is hilarious.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
No. If anyone
Cool.
out there is on the fence about it and hasn't seen it yet, I highly recommend checking it out because it was fucking hilarious.
Nice. I like his name's Jake in real life. The guy Nick from New Girl.
Yeah, Jake
He's
Johnson
great.
or something.
Yeah, Jake Johnson.
Yeah, that sounds right.
He's
and
hilarious.
Damon Wayans
Yeah,
Jr.,
yeah.
who's also in New Girl.
That's right. Yeah.
He was the original black guy in New Girl.
Then had to
and
go
then-
do
and
Happy
then
Endings.
Happy Endings got picked up for a second season, so he was like, "Oh, never mind, screw y'all." And then Happy Endings only had 3 seasons, so he came.
That show
back
should
to New
still be
Girls.
on the air.
Oh my god, Happy Endings was so good.
That was a great
It
show.
was, yeah.
So good,
Yeah,
so good,
so good.
so good.
I enjoyed it. But the I haven't actually seen any movies in the theaters since Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, and we got Expendables 3 coming up.
Yeah, and the
Rooting
Riff
for Mel
Tracks,
Gibson.
version of Godzilla '98.
98. Maybe that's...
Oh, it's Godzilla 98?
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not going to that.
Sir, maybe that'll be my choice movie.
Another Roland Emmerich film was on. I was at the gym earlier today, and they were playing 20.
Stop lying.
They were playing 2012, which is, I think, the most recent Roland.
Woody Harrelson's in that film.
He is Maximum
20
Harrelson.
Maximum
20
Harrelson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woody
Man.
12.
And since the last episode, we've finished True Detective.
We have, and I fucking love that show.
Still haven't watched past.
Oh my
episode
god,
3.
dude! It's funny because I don't think I've ever had more of a polarizing thing when I was watching a show, and I'd say something on Facebook or one of my friends or something at the shop or something, and it'd either be, "It's the most amazing show, you're gonna love it," or "Don't even bother watching after episode 4, man. The finale is shit." And so I was like, "Okay, well, this is
Was
really
the
interesting."
finale shit?
No, not at all. Like I liked the second half more than I liked the first half.
Well, I remember your favorite episode wasn't,
My
contrary to popular opinion, was
my
not-
favorite episode is still episode 6.
Yeah, yeah. Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
Which is actually my favorite Star Wars film.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Just like how your favorite issue of All-Star Superman is
issue 6.
Issue 6, yeah.
Episode 6. You fucking screwed me up. Nerds! Episode 6 is great, but the last line... screw that.
The little monologue.
The dialogue between Woody and Matthew McConaughey in the end of the last episode is stellar. I don't understand. I need to buy it and watch it again because, as Sam pointed out, because this is the second time you watched it.
It is, yeah.
Catching things here and there and seeing things that would be really interesting to see again, detective-wise, and dealing with the crime. The interesting thing about the show is, though,
ton of
true
foreshadowing.
detective-wise.
True detective. Yeah, a lot of foreshadowing, but it's not necessarily a show about a murder.
No.
It's more a show about this relationship between these two partners, which is awesome. And it is. It's a bummer that this is the only season, we're going to get about the two of them.
Bummer.
But the cool thing is, it's seriously, it's a completed story, though. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Sam, do you know why people didn't like the finale? Do you have a reason? Like,
I mean, I think they were kind of let down by I think the show kind of straight up hints that Matthew McConaughey's the killer, and he's not. I'm not spoiling anything. But
well, I mean, you're spoiling that he's not the killer.
I guess I
suppose. Well, you stopped after episode 3.
No. I'm not defending myself. You guys can go. Feel free to talk all the spoiler you want. I gave up on the show.
But I think if Matthew McConaughey was the killer, that'd just be lazy writing. I think a lot of people were kind of pissed off because
so they wanted him to be the killer.
Well, I feel like they
expected him to be the
then
killer.
I would have been pissed.
I remember the 3 episodes that I watched. I was like, they're kind of setting up McConaughey, to be the killer.
Yeah.
Like, it
I would
feels
have been
that
pissed
way.
if he was the killer.
When it jumps to 2012, they're straight up like, yeah, we're investigating Matthew McConaughey's character, and it's like, well,
I feel like they actually did say that, right?
That's the entire reason of the talking head interviews.
Yeah. Which let me hate.
Then let me tell you. Then if Chris doesn't care, and obvious
go ahead.
spoilers here. But for anyone who's listening, I don't want to.
The season's over. The season's been over for a couple months now.
Several months.
Yeah.
5
Yeah. No.
months.
If you don't want spoilers, just pause it.
Yeah.
Right now
I don't want to and watch the Mad Max trailer. But I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil this for anyone. Yes, I don't want to spoil this for anyone who hasn't seen it. So please, give it a minute or so. But one of the reasons I loved episode 6 is because I didn't realize that they were going to go present day, and then the rest of the show would be present day.
Sure.
And the coolest thing is you get to see McConaughey and Harrelson's characters meet up for the first time in 7 years, and when you find out why they stopped talking after 7 years, is it 10 years?
It's 2002, and then it jumps to 2012.
Oh yes, okay, so then 10 years. Yeah.
You're not really spoiling anything with that because I knew that.
Well, no, but I mean, but you get to see the relationship, and they become even better friends during the present day, and they get fucked up in that last episode. I thought for sure they were dead.
Yeah,
because McConaughey gets stabbed in the gut, and then the knife gets dragged up his gut.
Yeah,
serrated in the air.
Side,
yeah,
just
up. Bleeding out, and then freaking Woody Harrelson gets tomahawked.
Yeah. I just found out. Me and Jake were cleaning out one of the rooms in my house, and we found my dad has a tomahawk.
Yeah, tomahawk and a machete. Yeah, and that your dad at one time was Captain Jack. But
I already knew this, but Jake found out that my dad was one time a makeup artist.
Yeah, that was more shocking than the True Detective finale.
All this Jack Stone's greatest secrets coming out on this week's episode.
Yeah, we saw
Jack Stone thought that it would never be revealed, but he used to be a makeup artist.
Yeah,
but
we found his makeup
Jack Stone actually kind of sounds like a pirate's name, though.
I always said Jack Stone is like a thriller novel.
Yeah, he used to have
a Jack Reacher kind of thing.
He used to have his own action figure.
Really?
Yeah, it was called Jack Stone. It was put out by Lego.
But it wasn't actually him.
It
wasn't actually your dad, was it?
Maybe you should buy it and paint a mustache on it, and then it'll be perfect.
Well, I gotta say, just for anyone who if you haven't listened to our commentaries or anything, but Sam's dad shows up randomly and scares the shit out of me. I think the last time I saw him, I was walking in the garage area, and he goes, "Hello," and I turned. I was like, "Jesus Christ!" I mean, Jack Stone. Just investigating a murder.
You make my dad sound like Peter Weller.
Yeah, just investigating a murder.
He always holds out that last syllable.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think the big thing, it's really an inconsequential character that's revealed as the killer, and they kind of find out in the most inconsequential way that he's the killer.
What episode is it that you technically see him in?
You first see him in episode 3.
Yeah. and then it's revealed in 7.
You see him. I think
The end of 7?
They introduce him at the very end of 7 just to prove to the audience that hey, this guy actually exists, and it's not Matthew McConaughey.
And then there's a couple like there's 2 humongo Jerry headshots. Remember?
Yeah.
The like assault when they're like going in, and then McConaughey just blows the dude's head off, and then when the killer gets his head blown off at the end. But I seriously thought
Killer.
I thought McConaughey was dead.
McConaughey.
But like Matthew McConaughey's speech, where he's like clearly like choking up and everything.
Oh, he is like it's. I don't know. And again, I've given it a couple of days, blah, 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 whatever, the honeymoon phase. But, dude, he is easily one of the most phenomenal performances I've ever seen in a TV show. Easy.
Yeah. It's the second time I've seen that performance. And, it's been over a month now. And yeah, he does a phenomenal job. I think he totally deserves the Emmy.
Oh, and the Grammy. And the Grammy.
And the Grammy.
And the Tony.
Yeah. He gets the EGOT automatically.
Yeah.
He's Zagat rated.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's a food thing for anyone curious.
You know, if it hasn't already been spoiled, or
well, that's because you played too much Street Fighter.
That's true.
Well, also
we should watch Street Fighter.
Ooh, with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, we will punch Bison so hard.
We are going to kick Bison's ass so hard that the next Bison is going to feel it. So I don't know if you noticed, but we do like regular commentaries, and I got to pick the first solo film, like non-series film this week. And I wanted to pick Double Team with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and nobody ever.
We shot that down.
It was a 2-1 veto.
If anyone has seen Double Team, you will know why we didn't want to watch it.
It's where him and Dennis Rodman team up and take on Mickey Rourke, and they end up blowing up the Coliseum.
And yet we're excited about the other one, the other Rodman.
Oh, Simon Says?
Yeah, we're excited about Simon
Says. That's unwatchable for me.
I think we're excited about that one because we we seen it.
Dude.
Right?
Oh, you know what? Hold up. I know what my movie's going to be.
Maybe I'm just so excited. Is it Trouble with Tribbles?
No. The Cold Light of Day, starring Henry Cavill. That's the movie we're watching, and I'm going to educate you guys on pre-Superman Henry Cavill.
Yeah, no, I know nothing about his
Here
career
we go.
before Superman.
It's going to be fucking
so
awesome. It's going to be awesome.
You know what? The next time I have to come up with a solo film, it's going to be Double Team's going to be an option.
Yeah,
of course.
And the other option is going to be Taffin with Pierce Brosnan.
Yes, yes.
Taffin is a pre-GoldenEye Pierce Brosnan crime drama set in Ireland.
The only pre-Pierce Brosnan I know is Remington Steele, so I'm excited.
Give them a tease of the famous Taffin.
The famous Taffin line?
Yes.
I wish we had it queued up on the computer, but basically...
It's the best line.
Too bad we're not professional.
Yeah.
It's the best line in the history of histories.
Yeah, basically, like, his girlfriend kind of confronts him and is like...
Who is his girlfriend is played by?
Alison Doody from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is both of our favorite Indiana Jones films.
Yeah, mine, yeah.
Yeah, you're more of a Raiders guy.
Yes.
But yeah, so she's like...
Way to jump on the bandwagon.
Dude, I started the bandwagon because I've been in love with that movie for ever.
But yeah, so like she kind of confronts him and he's like, what goes on? And then Pierce Brosnan's like, what goes on in this town is none of your business. And she's like, well, as long as I'm living here, it is. And he's like, well, maybe you shouldn't be living here.
Oh, my. Chris, have you seen that? We're showing you that when we're
powering
done
up.
What about Megaforce though? We need to watch Megaforce at some time so I can see it.
The good guys always win.
The good guys always win, even in the 80s.
Then okay, I'll start it with in the Cold Light of Day.
Okay,
I think it was I can't remember. Yeah, Cold Light of Day. Henry Cavill, American in the film.
Yeah,
his father is Bruce Willis.
Nice.
He gets killed like immediately.
Yeah,
spoiler.
Yeah,
immediately.
It happens in the first act. The best line in the movie is he's like in Spain or somewhere and no one's speaking English and he's like getting like in the middle of this like
firefight or something.
Yeah, firefight. And someone's like attacking him, and Henry Cavill goes, they're talking to him in another language. He goes, "Oh, they speak goddamn fucking English." I love it, man.
Very much like Bruce Willis's line in Fifth Element. I only speak 2 languages: English and bad English.
Yeah,
Cavill was up not only for Superman before
Superman, yeah,
during Superman Returns, but he was also up for James Bond
around
when they were casting Casino Royale. But he was deemed too young at the time.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I think
he's probably still too young to really play.
My ideal Bond's always like in his mid-30s. That being said, we haven't seen a Bond in his 30s since Casino Royale.
Well,
before that, it hadn't been since before On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Daniel Craig is what, 2 films left on his contract.
Yeah. And then next one's supposed to be next year, and then another one like in 2017.
I'll still say Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy?
I could get behind that.
But I'm a huge Tom Hardy fan, so Tom Hardy for everybody. But
Tom Hardy for everything. He's Elton John next.
Yeah.
Now that he's done Mad Max.
Dude, that dude's gonna win. Dude, that dude is gonna start slaying Oscars soon, man. Like I'm telling you. And like I said, in my
Slaying
opinion,
Oscars like he slays vagina.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Probably. I mean, the dude's Mad Max, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think he's the most talented actor
Out there right now.
Now, is that a humble opinion or a hubristic opinion?
That's a Tom Hardy opinion.
That's
a Bronson level opinion. If
you know,
ever seen
one of the-
Bronson, you know what I'm talking about.
One of the greatest actors in the game, Peter O'Toole, never won a proper Oscar.
I know.
He only got the honorary
That's
Oscar.
insane.
He was nominated for Lawrence of Arabia, Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Have you guys seen Venus? The last movie he was nominated for an Oscar for?
2006.
He should have won for that, man. Like, I don't know. It's a shame.
He lost to Forrest Whitaker for The Last King of Scotland.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whitaker.
I thought,
Damn him.
Well,
He was in Battlefield Earth.
I remember everyone was talking about how like great that movie is or the performance and stuff.
Battlefield Earth?
No. Last King of
Greatest
Scotland.
movie of John Travolta's career.
And probably. And
Greatest movie of... Who was that? Guy Pearce? Or...
Oh, the
who
guy
was the human?
Barry Pepper.
Barry.
Yeah.
Wow, not even Guy Pearce. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
so-
not even close.
Sorry, it's been a while since I've seen it.
Oof.
Best movie of his career, though, since I've never heard of him in another movie.
What?
Saving Private
Saving
Ryan.
Private Ryan.
Barry Pepper?
Yeah, he's a sniper in Saving Private Ryan.
Okay.
He's also
There's a whole lot of other things that are great about
he's
Saving
also
Private
Ned.
Ryan.
Ned, what's his name? And he's
Beatty?
he's the big bad guy in True Grit.
Yeah, his son is in
reboot.
Charlie and the Chocolate
Oh.
Factory, and then he plays Roger Maris in 61.
There you go.
So
That's
basically
everything you
what
need to
guys
know
just-
about Barry Pepper.
That's everything you know about Barry Pepper.
Wow, I opened up a can of worms saying that he was a crap actor. It's like, apparently I'm in the Barry Pepper fan club here.
wrong Barry, motherfucker.
We don't take kindly to your type here.
Yeah, if you had been shitting on Chuck Berry, I would have been like, yeah, go for it. Not
He stole rock music from the white man.
Chuck Berry?
Chuck Berry?
Chuck Berry's,
Marvin Berry?
Chuck Berry's black.
What did I say? I blacked out.
Chris has his berries all mixed up, man.
I meant the other Chuck Berry, the one that Sam Rockwell plays in.
Oh, see, I was making a reference to Back to the Future.
Yeah,
Marvin Berry.
Berry. That's
Yeah.
his cousin.
Yeah.
His probably non-existent cousin.
I imagine so. Did you see The Onion had an article that was like Chuck Berry admits to stealing to stealing rock and roll from the white man?
from Marty McFly.
Yeah.
Lordy. But yeah, I mean, it's been
Yeah, True Detective, man.
it was a good show. It was a good
It's
show.
a really good show.
Going back 10
Yeah.
minutes ago.
You watching anything? You streaming anything? Anything new show wise, Chris?
No. I'm still kind of trucking through Ultimate Spider-Man like I was like 3 weeks ago. I took a quick break for Star Trek. Stopped watching Star Trek because it got boring.
You didn't even hit
Take
the
that,
Omega
Trekkies.
Glory.
Take that, Trekkies. I still can't get to season 3.
You don't want to make Trekkies angry.
What are they going to do? Hyperventilate on me?
I don't know. I don't know if you want to make Trekkies angry. I've watched some documentaries, man. I've watched some documentaries.
Trek Nation.
Man, shit.
I've
You
watched
seen
them.
them Trekkies?
I've
You
seen-
seen them Trekkies?
Don't.
What you think, Swizzle?
I like Star Trek.
Man, you don't know the shit about Trekkies.
I've seen some shit, man. I've seen some shit.
No.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Oh.
All those Trekkies, man. All those Trekkies.
No, I got much love for the Trek. I just
It's too late.
It's it's rough. I like the movies.
What was the episode that killed you again? I feel like we talked about this last week
We did, and I can't remember it.
because it was that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that forgettable. I'm the only one here that actually like
Sam, actually, this is something
Speaking
that
of nerd
this is something
shit.
I would love to have happen on every episode. We did it last episode.
Okay.
We got thousands of emails. Right, thousands, right? You were checking the emails, right?
Thousands.
Chris?
Yeah,
I
thousands.
know. I couldn't keep up.
It goes to my phone. It was just like
Yeah.
ding, ding, ding,
Tweets.
ding, ding.
We got so many tweets.
So many tweets. My
So
phone
many
didn't
tweets.
stop lighting up.
It was insane. And it was all
I'd hook it up to a
based.
surge protector.
It was all based around a little game we played where Sam would come up with a plot. 3 plots to Star Trek.
Two truths and a
Original
lie.
Star Trek episodes, and we'd have to figure out which one was bullshit.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think we got it wrong. I think we got one right, and then I think we did another 2 different games.
The one that you got right was the one the episode where they team up with Abraham Lincoln to stop Genghis Khan.
And my thing of trying to come up with something on the fly was them being eaten by a giant radioactive peanut butter sandwich, which
totally plausible.
They get eaten by a giant amoeba in season 2.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah,
All right,
I remember that episode.
So let's give
that
Sam.
might have been the episode that killed it.
Let's give Sam a moment or two, really quick,
Yeah.
Oh,
to
boy.
think it over.
So
And Chris and I will look at each other.
yeah,
Do you want to do it with Star Trek or Grant Morrison plots?
Star Trek.
Star Trek because Jake might actually get the Grant Morrison plot.
That's right. How much Grant Morrison have you read since the last episode?
A lot.
Okay.
I'm working. I'm working through Animal Man still. I'm starting. I'm like starting all these different things, but Doom Patrol, The Invisibles. Those are I'll be done with Animal Man soon, and then Doom Patrol and Invisible is going to take a bit, and then just JLA run. I'm working on.
Going on that, like I will say, I did start reading some other Grant Morrison stuff. I'm a couple issues into Animal Man. In my hand, I have a borrowed copy of Arkham Asylum and Son of the Bat that Sam has been so kind to let me read. So I'm going to check those out, see if they can't change my mind on Grant Morrison.
You also watched the documentary.
Yeah,
Talking
I
with
did
Gods.
watch. I did watch Talking with Gods.
I mean, I know we were like playing games during it.
Yeah,
but,
we introduced
yeah.
Jake to Risk.
and I lost
Yeah.
horribly.
I needed to get your cards.
Yeah,
And then
well,
stole
I
ones.
just wanted to finish watching Sin City, and then God, we watched a
We watched
fucker of
the-
a Sin City.
It was like the director's cut edition. or
So
Ultimate edition.
on the Blu-ray of Sin City, this is all just time so that Sam can come up with.
Oh,
his
I've been
bullshit
thinking about
plots.
it in the
But,
background. Yeah.
But yeah, so on the special edition like Blu-ray version of Sin City, you have the option of watching the segments individually,
Mm-hmm.
and our friend John had downloaded that version, like that sort of version while we were trying to watch Sin City because no one told me to just bring my copy of Sin City. So we
It was kind of a spur of the moment.
yeah. So
To be fair,
so the video file that we ended up downloading had each individual segment, and it went in this order: That Yellow Bastard. Was it The Customer's Always Right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it had
The Long Goodbye.
and then The Hard Kill. And so it was all sorts of out of whack. And at the end of each segment, it had the credits for that segment. Because on the special features, you can just be like, oh, I want to watch just this one. And then that's it. But this guy, whoever we had downloaded it from, had decided to make one congruent video file out of all of it and, not give any cares to the way that we would be watching. Like, it's like, oh yeah, no, these people are gonna watch it all the way through. Whatever, fuck them. So fuck that guy.
So we get for downloading, man.
Right? We should have just bought a new DVD. So Sam, you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let her rip.
All right. So the Enterprise arrives on a planet that's modeled after medieval China and find themselves embroiled in a war between two rival monk clans or monastic clans. That's one. Two, the crew of the Enterprise find themselves on a planet that's modeled after 1920s gangsters with like an Al Capone figure ruling the entire planet. And three, a mysterious alien force arrives on the Enterprise, steals Spock's brain to power a supercomputer on her home planet, and the Enterprise must locate Spock's brain before his body dies.
Okay, so it's 2 lies and 1 truth?
No,
Or it's-
one lie, 2 truths.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure I watched, one of those episodes. Yeah,
Which one?
The gangsters one.
Okay, so the gangsters one
is true.
is true.
Is that a yes?
It's a yes.
Okay,
Okay.
this is for a radio audience as well, so you got to say it.
Yeah. So yeah, there
So-
the season 2 episode, a piece of the action.
Yeah.
They do find a
Okay.
planet of. I was between that. Have you watched the Nazi episode yet?
No.
Okay. There's basically the same plot, but instead of gangsters, it's Nazis.
Nice.
And they have they bomb a distant planet, which is basically like space Hebrew people.
Space Jews.
Yes, and like in
Yeah.
at the end of History of the World Part 1.
Yeah. What was the first one again?
It was they arrive on a medieval Chinese planet and they find 2 warring monastic clans.
And then the last one was stealing Spock's brain.
So yeah, a female figure arrives on the Enterprise and steals Spock's brain.
I'm going to say that one is the other truth.
Okay.
Jake?
I'm gonna go with that one, the Spock's brain one, is not true.
Okay.
Not true. So we're disagreeing.
We're disagreeing.
On that. Okay.
If only to cover your bases.
Yes.
One of us is definitely right.
Yes.
Well, Chris is right because
Damn it.
the season 3 premiere is called Spock's Brain, and basically that's what happens.
Nice.
It's
All
the
right.
like the worst episode of Star Trek.
Oh, it sounded interesting.
You got Netflix, baby.
Yeah. That Nazi one sounds interesting. Not to make me sound like a racist.
Patterns of
bastard.
the Force wasn't aired on German television until the 2000s.
I wonder why. Nothing happened between 1939 and 1945.
Yeah.
We had tea with Poland. Ask them.
But yeah, so that was the there's your game. But yeah, so
the emails are already flooding in.
we
Thousands
haven't
of
even finished
emails.
recording this episode.
I know.
And they're already flooding our emails with how much they loved it.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Did you take a picture of us?
I did.
You son of a bitch.
Spread it on the interwebs. Now there's even more emails and that sort of thing.
Thousands.
Oh my God, they're so sexy.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like I always have to kind of defend Star Trek because I'm the only one here that like properly enjoys it. But
was that Paul McCartney enjoying Star Trek?
Paul McCartney, I'm sure.
I'm the only one that likes
Probably enjoys it.
That's something we need to, because now
Get Paul McCartney on the show?
Well, no. Here's something
That's
that
why we need Eddie Van Halen on guitar.
here's something that always here's a question. I got into the Beatles. Speaking of Paul McCartney, because my dad, like every Sunday, the local radio station that played golden oldies stuff from the 50s and 60s used to have something called Beatles Brunch.
Oh yes,
Beatles
that was
Brunch.
the best.
And they would play Beatles music. Like there would be a solid block of Beatles music, and that was my introduction to the Beatles. Now,
It was like another one of the rock stations at like 8 o'clock at night. Every night would have mandatory Metallica.
that would have been cool to grow up to too.
Yeah, that's what I grew up to.
Real quick about the brunch thing. I remember one Christmas Eve, I was so excited because it was Christmas Eve. I couldn't fall asleep, and I stayed up all night, and they did like a Christmas Eve Beatles thing.
Oh yeah,
And they just played Beatles music the entire night. And I stayed up all night listening to the Beatles, partly because it was the Beatles and partly because it was Christmas Eve, and I was like super excited.
I will say that my dad personally only owned A Hard Day's Night, the Red and the Blue compilations, and the American version of Help, which was just stuff from the film. So for the longest time, whenever I would hear something that wasn't on like the Blue album, say like Dear Prudence isn't on the Blue album.
Oh man.
And so whenever I would hear like this new music, I'd be like, what is this? Like there's
New Beatles music?
Yeah, there's like Beatles music that I didn't know existed. Like what's Rain? What the hell is this? You know?
So growing up, I was also exposed to the Beatles music because of my parents, specifically my mom. But she had well, as many people know, we have a Laserdisc player at my house, and we had the Yellow Submarine on Laserdisc. And for the longest time, that was the Beatles to me. Little cartoon characters, and just like those 10 songs that are on.
Something like that. Only 4 of which are new tracks.
The first time I watched that movie, I didn't realize it wasn't the Beatles providing their own voice.
It's not?
No, it's not.
Huh.
You know that though they do show up at the end.
They
at the very
do,
end of the
yeah.
film. Did you know that was how Sean Lennon's second son Sean figured out that his father was famous?
Really?
Because he saw his father as a cartoon character.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
And then he was like, "Why
for a
are
kid.
you a cartoon character?"
Deep conversations.
How awesome would that be to find out that your dad or
I mean,
somebody...
we saw your dad in Iron Monkey.
That's true. It's true. If you ever watched the film Iron Monkey, Chief Fox is totally my dad.
A Chinese version of your
Actually, my dad was an extra in the film Gardens of Stone, starring James Caan.
Gardens of Stone?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we don't plan this shit. I promise.
Did you know Nate Zinzer?
No.
We went to the high school with this guy Nate. He was a extra in the movie Forces of Nature because he was a Cub Scout or a Boy Scout, whatever age he was at the time that they were filming it, and they just happened to be in the same train station that they were filming in while they were doing a train station scene. So they just needed to fill up the platform, and they were like, "Hey, can you guys just stand here for like 10 minutes?"
Nice.
Now, you used to live in New York. How often would you see like casting calls for extras and that sort of thing?
I would see them all the time, but they would always be during times that I was working, and I was like,
"Sure,
but this is a steady job."
Yeah. How do you live? Being extra to extra.
Technically, the only extra work I've done is I was in an episode of Bar Rescue.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, Pirates Tavern
no
episode?
way.
The Pirates Tavern episode. You can't see me, but I filled in the bar during their reopening as corporate bar and grill,
Which, thank God, that didn't
which lasted about 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, no, it was terrible.
Oh, wow.
It was terrible. And also, great thing. So I believe it's John Taffer. I know
host,
for sure
yeah.
it's Taffer is the host. So he,
Taffin.
yeah.
Taffin, I can't wait, dude.
By the way, we call bathrooms at Pirates Tavern Taffers now, but because he was shit.
He kind of comes off as an asshole in the show.
Yeah, yeah. But so his whole thing, his shtick, is that he goes around and improves bars. And so you'd think that he would know, the rules, the laws, and he would at least have someone that it was their job to check the local liquor laws, right? Right? That makes sense?
Yeah, for something that bar-centric.
Yeah. So to spruce the place up, Taffer decided to install like 2 or 3 of these pump your own beer things.
Pump your own beer?
Yeah, well, it's a special table that you have, it's like a 4-top or something like that, and you buy tokens from your waitress or waiter, and then it's like an arcade game, or a slot machine. You put the token in, and you can, serve yourself out of a tap.
And
you have
sounds cool.
It kind of does.
In
It kinda
theory,
does. Except I'm going to a restaurant or a bar. I'm not expecting to do the work. But you have like the option of like 4 or however many of those things they have. Turns out in Maryland, where Pirates Tavern is, serving your own alcohol is illegal. You have to be served by a bartender. You can't even be served by a waiter or waitress, which I believe is actually a pretty common law.
If it affects the entire state at the very least.
Yeah. So they got slapped with like a fine, I think, shortly after the corporate bar and grill was reopened.
Ooh, could they sue Bar Rescue?
I'm pretty sure they can, and I'm pretty sure they did.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they don't show that episode anymore.
Every time I'm flipping through the TV guide and I see
I'll have to actually watch one of those episodes
yeah.
now.
Yeah, every time I see Bar Rescue pop up on my TV guide, I'm like, ooh, is it the Pirates Tavern one? Even though I've seen that episode, but yeah, no, it's terrible.
Terrible.
And he's a dick to all of my friends who work there.
Yeah. Like I said, it kind of comes off as an asshole.
Yeah. By the way, if you are ever in Silver Spring, Maryland, you should check out Pirates Tavern. It's right near the Silver Screen movie theater and the Discovery Channel building. It's a short walk from the Silver Spring Metro station. So,
like
what I like to do is we live here in Fairfax, Virginia. I take the
Orange Line,
and then take the Red Line up to Silver Spring, and then I have an entire hour, because that's how long it takes to get to either place to sober up.
It's like going from Queens to Brooklyn, like riding the Q through Manhattan into.
You don't even know.
Or is it the J that I'm thinking of?
Nope. Definitely not the J.
Tits. Sam Stone's knowledge of the New York City subway system.
So depending on what time of day you're talking about, if you're in Astoria, yes, you can take the Q to Brooklyn, but
through Manhattan.
Yeah, but you would have been better off saying like the M or the N or the R.
Really, just any other letter in the alphabet. Even the ace.
No, the E is the only. Oh no, no. What am I?
I was shitting on myself. I'm aware that doesn't.
Actually, no. All of them go. All of them do end up in Queens at one point.
Right.
But they don't go to Queens by way of Manhattan.
Yeah.
I don't think. The E does.
Right.
Maybe. I don't even know. All of them end up in or around JFK, which is in Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
So, Jake, what do you know about New York subway?
Fuck all.
I can't believe that all the times you went to New York, when we were there last year, that was the first time you rode the subway?
Yeah.
Did you just cab it the entire time?
Well, no. I mean, whenever I was in New York, whenever I was in New York, either my dad would drive us into the city, or we were going up to see my brother at West Point. We would take the train in.
But how would you get around the city?
Walk.
Yeah, it's not that bad of a walk.
I mean,
every single time, and I've been in New York more than a handful of times. Every single time, we just walked.
Yeah, I once walked from Battery Park, which is basically the southern tip.
Battery.
Battery Park, which is basically
I'm sorry.
the southern tip of Manhattan. I walked all the way from there to Columbus Circle, which is about 59th Street, which is about 5 miles. I did that all in one hoof, and then I realized that my shoe was like falling off or something like that, and I was like, I should probably take 59th Street, stop to 145th.
And if I am in New York again, I'd probably just walk.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah,
It depends on where you need to go. I mean, I remember
Depends
when
on where you need to go.
Well, I remember when the reason we were taking is because we were in basically in Chinatown. We had to get all the way to the convention center on 11th and 33rd.
Yeah. No, I know how to get there.
Yeah. But I mean, which is a walkable distance, but that's quite a walk.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a walk to get to the convention center from the closest subway station.
34th Street.
and also every time we were in New York with like my family, we were there to like eat and kind of go to shops and stuff. We weren't like if we were spending the night, we were back like on post at West Point, so we would just take the train back, or my dad would drive us. But
you never got to see that Rocky musical.
I know. I don't know if we want to spoil what day we're filming this, but
either way, it's gone.
It's gone. Well, no, 17th is the final performance.
Oh, so you still have a week.
Yeah, the 17th
Exactly
is the final
a week.
performance.
Well,
I just spoiled the day that we're recording it.
Yeah. We've watched all the Batman films.
Don't let them behind the
We've
veil.
watched them all.
yeah.
So yeah, I believe the 17th is the final day for the Rocky musical.
Final Crisis.
Final Harrelson.
The Rocky on Infinite Earths.
Damn right. Crisis on Infinite Rocky.
Yeah.
It felt that way. I remember it must have been fucking crazy to be in the 80s where you would get a new Rocky movie virtually every 2 to 3 years.
Whether you wanted to or not, you got a new Rocky movie. And I love the Rocky saga.
I love the first 4 and 6.
My ideal Rocky films, 1, 2, and 6.
Not 3? I love
3 is
3.
when it all changes. Like, well, honestly, if you think about it, and again, I can't stress how much I love the Rocky movies. There should have never been a sequel because it defeats the whole purpose of him getting a second chance, getting a second chance, which is fine. Whatever, it's a movie, I know. I do like the second one.
It exists inside a fictional world.
Exactly, it's all fiction, baby. But I mean, I know the second movie kind of is like nothing's really happening for a good while, and then they fight. But I love the second one. I have a sentimental thing for it. The third one is just that the third one, his entire, and I know it's because he's the champ now, but like he's like his
spoilers.
Spoilers for the one guy who's never seen Rocky.
What? Rocky 2.
He's the champ.
Champ?
And plus, the end of Rocky 2 always gets me, man. It's such a great moment. But like,
Is that the freeze frame punch?
no, that's the third one. The end, he's like, I just want to say one thing to my wife who's home, and my wife and kid who's home.
Like
Yo,
I've
Adrian,
seen,
I did it.
I've seen all of the.
And he
Rocky
flips the
movies
belt
except
over
for the
his
sixth
shoulder and
one.
almost whacks a dude in the face with it. Which is yeah. You never seen Rocky Balboa?
No, I haven't.
Oh, that's such a good one, man. That really is.
I've seen
a good
every other
movie.
one, but most of the, but like a lot of them, like kind of like
Blurred together.
Yeah, like what?
Especially
happens in
since the end of every film is the beginning of the subsequent film.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Back to the Future.
Yeah.
But it's just that everything
Or
changes about the third one, like the demeanor, his attitude, his look, his style.
That's the one with Mr. T, right?
Yes,
and Hulk
Clubber
Hogan.
Lang and
yeah. I
Thunder
love
Lips.
that one. I love that one.
That's my
It's a good, no. It's a good one. It's a great one. But like my
I pity the
favorite,
fool that don't love it.
my favorite. If I had to put him in order right now, it'd probably be
Gun to my head.
Rocky Balboa, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Which one's the one with Dolph Lundgren?
4.
The fourth one?
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one.
And that one's super fun. But again, everyone. It's funny. Most
I
people
love
the fourth one the
training
most.
the Russian training
Drago.
montage.
Yeah.
That too.
But like the thing that's a bummer about the fourth one is just Bill Conti's music isn't in it.
It's Vince DiCola.
Now,
yeah.
granted, it has a great kick-ass 80s soundtrack, but
a lot
you
of
don't,
sense.
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
sense.
But you don't have, and a lot of like driving around in cars, contemplating your life. You can't beat him, Rock.
So to Robert Tepper's "There's No Easy Way Out."
That might be my favorite on that album.
That's a movie that's almost entirely montages, by the
Happy
way.
birthday, Polly.
Because they knew come Rocky 4, they're like, that's what the people want.
That's what the people want.
The people want montages.
I mean, you get in the Rocky saga, heartbreak, marriages, death, childbirth, brain damage, robots.
It really starts out with brain damage, doesn't it?
Well, he's not the
That's what
sharp.
Mickey would always say.
He's not the sharpest, tool in the shed.
Just like that Smash Mouth.
But
song.
he gets. But the thing is, he gets smarter after he wins the heavyweight belt, which is my problem with 3. And then he's brain dead in 5. Like
not brain dead.
Not brain dead, but he's like
the original draft of 5. He's supposed to die in his street fight with Tommy Gunn.
So, but he's like he can't box anymore because he's like it's like you can't box because like you like one more punch and you're dead. And they kind of fixed that for Balboa, but
yeah.
So what happens in 5? Balboa is 6, right?
Balboa 6.
Which one's 5?
5 is where he loses all of his money. And basically they try to re-cash in on the first Rocky film. Same director, John G. Avildsen, who comes in, and he's wearing the same clothes as in the first one, same area, everything.
Yeah.
And then he comes and trains this up-and-comer Tommy Gunn.
Who was actually heavyweight champion Tommy Morrison.
Yes. And one thing leads to another. He backstabs Rocky, blah, blah, blah. And
becomes the new heavyweight champ, but everybody's like, force habit. Everybody's like, you'll never be like he's good, but he's no Rocky Balboa.
You'll never beat Rocky. And then they have a street fight, and then sue me for what? There you go. The end.
He basically punches Don King, and the movie ends.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Well, and then Sage.
Spoilers. He survives.
His son in the film is his son in real life, Sage Stallone.
Though they recast for Balboa.
Yeah.
They make him Milo Ventimiglia from Heroes.
Jesse, for all your Gilmore Girls fans.
The one true
Rory Gilmore's one true love.
Apparently, she used to actually date.
She dated him for a while. Yeah. He's got a great character arc in that show, man. I love Gilmore Girls.
Danny Pudi is in Gilmore Girls.
He is. Yeah, he's at Yale and on the Yale newspaper.
Sure.
Absolutely. And so yeah, that's a quick rundown of the Rocky.
My
films.
thing is they defend the change in Rocky's personality, or they don't defend it, but like Paulie calls him out on it in the very beginning.
Well, he calls him like his look makes sense.
He's like, you don't look, you got
But it's a totally different performance. You know what I mean? Like he's not Rocky anymore.
He's not streetwise Rocky.
He's not. Well, yes, he's just not Rocky. He's like he's
Stallone.
He's Stallone, which is fine, But
to be fair, Stallone's always kind of, sort of, except for maybe Paradise Alley,
where he sings the theme song. It's fantastic film. I think it's between him, Tom Cruise, and Mel Gibson for the most movies by one actor I own. Because when I was at
you own Victory.
I own Victory.
The Sylvester Stallone, Michael Caine, Pele, German World War II prison camp soccer film.
He loves to end conflict in a sport. He ends World War II on the soccer field, and he ends the Cold War in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
And he ends Vietnam in one day. He restarts the Vietnam War by himself and wins it in Rambo 2.
And he knocks the Soviets out of Afghanistan.
That's right.
Literally just.
Do you like Rambo 2 or Rambo 3 better?
Ooh, I like.
Because remember we watched all we watched
just 2 and 3.
Just 2 and 3 that day. I thought we watched 1, 2, and 3, but it was just 2 and 3.
Yeah,
because I finally bought the collection like months ago.
Right. That's a tough one. I personally might have to go with Rambo 3.
Rambo 3.
Yeah,
I might the same, but the best ambush sequence
is
in Rambo 2,
where he's in the mud,
where he's covered in mud, and you see an eyeball, and then.
You see his eye slowly open.
Yeah. And he also blows the guy up with the explosive tip arrows in the second one. And you see his boots just sitting there.
He triple kills Zangief in Rambo 3.
Triple kills. Dude, he loves to multiple kill people.
Double
in
kills
Cobra.
somebody. Yeah, well, he double kills the main bad guy at the end of Rambo 3.
Yeah, and in Cobra.
Yeah.
That's like one of the most intense deaths in like an 80s trashy action film.
There's also that random sequence in Cobra, which was made right around the same time as Rocky IV, where Brigitte Nielsen has the photo shoot with what I'm pretty sure is the Rocky IV robot.
Yes.
I think it's the same thing. I feel like Stallone actually owns that robot. Like if I ever visited,
wouldn't you?
Well, yeah. I think he actually owns the mural of him and Apollo punching each other at the end of 3.
Yeah. Wouldn't you?
I would.
Yeah, totally.
I want to hang out with Stallone, man.
If there was any celebrity you could hang out with, who would that one person be? Is it Stallone or Morrison or
Grant Morrison, like writer wise, definitely Grant Morrison. I think that would be the most fun, fascinating thing of all time. Celebrity wise, honestly, like this isn't like a joke. I would love to hang out with Mel Gibson.
All right.
I seriously would love to
It
hang
would
out
be
with
an
Mel Gibson.
experience,
It
I'm
would.
sure.
Well, actually, you know what? I would love to hang out with the cast of Expendables 3 because it would knock out 3 in 1. Stallone, Gibson, and fucking Kelsey Grammer, man.
Yeah,
Kelsey
Harrison
Grammer.
Ford.
Yeah.
No, I seriously would love to hang out with Mel Gibson and just like watch a bunch of his movies and like
with him.
yeah, and just like talk about just all kinds of.
I would watch the Three Stooges with him.
I would watch the Three Stooges. Actually, we'd have to set it up like it would be Lethal Weapon though. We would have to be in a trailer with this dog and watching the movies, just laughing our asses off.
And then you have sex before it's interrupted by South Africans. Wait,
we're going with Lethal Weapon 1 here, man. Lethal Weapon
two,
1, not 2. Whew, boy. No, because remember he just picks up a prostitute in the first one just to watch the Three Stooges?
Just to watch the Three Stooges, yeah.
I fucking want to watch some Lethal Weapon movies, man.
Maybe.
And I think we were talking about this, the ultimate question. I feel like every time I ask this to someone else that's not you, Sam, they're always like, 2, definitely 2. But Lethal Weapon 1 and 2, that's tough.
It's a legitimate debate. There's certain things that I didn't like the idea of the South Africans being responsible for Riggs's wife's death.
Oh, yeah. That whole, like, that's so random.
Yeah. It's like, we don't need to explain why Riggs' wife is dead. We don't need to make
it's great because it pisses him off so much that he puts on a nondescriptive baseball cap and then pulls a house down.
Yes.
Run.
But, the death of his girlfriend in that movie already makes the fight personal for him.
And they just
And this time it is personal.
Yeah. But the best thing about the Lethal Weapon 2 is that it starts off mid-action. I love this job. I love this job. And like,
so does 3, to be fair.
3's underrated.
Yeah.
I think 4 is a hell of a lot of fun. Like, if you're a Lethal Weapon fan, like 4
Jet
is just
Li
like
is
a
the
treat.
bad guy.
Yeah, 4 is just a treat. I love how Chris put it. Like, I think I watched 4, the one where they're definitely too old for this shit.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't seen all of the
bummer,
Lethal Weapon movies. I've seen little bits here and there, but I was like, I've definitely seen, or I know I've seen 1 all the way through, and it's the one where they're definitely too old for this shit.
Yeah, Danny Glover's been saying he's too old for this shit since
the first one. When he's turning like 50.
Yeah, and that's like in 1987.
Yeah,
and
so he'd be like,
Lethal
like in
Weapon
his
4
70s.
came out in like 2004, so
yeah, he's like supposed to be 70.
He would be he'd be 67.
Okay, but like, too old for this shit.
Still too old for this shit.
But yeah, honestly, I would love to hang out with Mel Gibson, man, and just watch movies, watch Three Stooges, and just laugh.
Chris, if you had to hang out with one celeb,
I think only living and dead.
I mean, if it was dead, I'd say John Lennon all day, every day.
Ooh, if it was dead, hang on, not to.
Or Peter O'Toole.
Peter O'Toole. 100% Peter
Drink me
O'Toole.
under the table.
I would just want to hear his stories. Like, that's Peter O'Toole, man.
Because my reasoning was I'm always going to be more focused towards like filmmakers and stuff like that, because that kind of thing is my bag, baby. Sorry. But living probably would be like Robert Rodriguez, because I love like his like kind of like one man show kind of style, and I would love to just pick his brain.
Guerrilla style filmmaking.
Yeah. Dead though, Hitchcock, man.
Hitchcock could be a dick though.
He could, but you know what? He also came up with some really cool things. So I would love, like, if he let me in, I think it would be a great conversation to have.
He did direct one of my favorite movies of all time, North by Northwest.
Mm.
If I had to pick, it would be Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl.
That's the guy that you could like see yourself having a beer with and just like talking about this, that, or the other thing.
Talking about Northern Virginia.
Complaining about how Springfield Mall is no longer a thing.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, his like half-hour rant at the end of the concert.
Were we all at the same show?
Yeah,
we were all at that show.
Okay, very cool.
And I think Sam actually figured out that I was like just like one tier like above him.
No, that was the
that was Andrew WK.
Andrew WK show. I figured out that you were like technically right next to me and John.
Huh.
Yeah.
But I was too busy almost getting thrown out for videotaping the first half of the show. So.
Yeah, way to be a dick. You might have some of my woos on your video.
Probably, good chance.
Woo! Woo! I love to party hard. Woo!
That was a phenomenal. I mean, that was like his first album for me is one of the greats.
Yeah.
And so he just played that entire thing top to bottom.
And then meeting him at AwesomeCon was so great.
With your hand
so
in focus?
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, there's a picture. I have a really nice DSLR, like everything's manual and everything. So I tried to set it so that like it would be in focus as, just like okay, you're probably going to be like 3 feet away from me, so this will probably be good. Don't touch anything, just hit this button to take the picture. So then I'm sitting there, arm around Andrew WK or whatever I'm doing. I'm like, and we both have like thumbs up going, and like I'm looking at the picture. Picture's fine when it's little, but then you blow it up to full size, and you see that our hands are the only things that are actually in focus.
So prominent in the foreground.
And then
Nice.
and then our faces are kind of fuzzy, but you know what? It doesn't top the amazing photographic skill of your first and only true selfie
With Andrew WK.
It was with Andrew WK. You take the picture with by yourself because it's a selfie.
Yeah.
And both of your heads are in the bottom of the frame, and it's
all right.
and it's,
Now hang
it's,
on.
It's vertical.
Hang
so
on.
like there's a lot of
This is with your iPhone, right?
Yeah.
It is.
You know you can flip the camera, so it's
No, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah, you were. He was doing the front-facing camera. He was doing the selfie.
just
okay.
had
Then there's no excuse then.
I had to
But,
do
like-
it fast. I had to do
Yeah,
it fast.
yeah. We had
Too
like
busy partying hard,
Yeah.
and then you.
Well, he was late for something, and he had to go. He had to go
Because
to-
we were waiting in line to actually like sit down and like meet him.
Yeah,
The problem is he would meet with all his fans for like 10 to 15
yeah.
minutes.
He wouldn't push anyone away,
Which is cool, but at the
Awesome.
same time, there's a line of people going around the like entire con, and
yeah. He was a high commodity.
And what sucked is we were like the next couple people.
Yeah, we
in
were.
line.
Yeah, I think there was like one group ahead of us that they were all going to go together.
Yeah.
and we were going to go together.
Yeah,
So we were technically like the second people in line, and we were like,
yeah. And then he's like, "Oh, sorry, late, gotta go."
yeah,
I'll say hi to everybody in line and
take a picture with everyone,
Yeah,
which was cool.
yeah. Very nice of him. Thank you,
Yeah.
Andrew WK.
Yeah, awesome.
You ever watch his show on MTV2, Your Friend Andrew WK?
I watched an episode or two.
Yeah, good times, good times.
Yeah.
He owns a club in New York City, actually near Tribeca.
Why did we never go?
We can in October.
Rocktober.
We can rock in Rocktober.
We can dance if we want to.
Dance. I don't know the next line.
We can leave our friends behind.
Well, anyway, the musician I would love to hang out with would be Bruce Springsteen, of course.
The Bows.
The Bows. Someone who has passed away who I would love to hang out with and have dinner with would be Howard Hughes. Although I feel like that dinner would be very awkward. But I would love to hang out with Howard Hughes. Springsteen, just because I've been listening to him since I was 3 years old. And like that would just be insane. I think, though, we would all love to hang out with Grant Morrison.
It would be an experience.
Yeah.
He could finally tell us to our faces to not put a lid on our Slurpees.
No.
Yeah, that's all I want. I just want to have a Slurpee with Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
You can't put a you can't. Damn it! I fucked it up.
Can't put a lid on your life, yeah. But the
It's not an actual quote of Grant Morrison.
No.
Although
No.
he might have put it in our heads without us knowing.
Right?
I don't
Sheer
know.
force
Some
of
of
will.
some of that shit that he was talking about.
Maybe
He seanced it.
He's the man. I love that dude.
I have to ask, what point did you realize that you were like you were maybe geekier than the other kids, at least in public? For me, it really ties to Star Trek, to my love of Star Trek again, because I remember I would be making Star Trek references in elementary school, because it's like, hey, everybody grows up with Star Trek, right? And it's like, not everybody grows up with Star Trek. And so I'd be making these like Star Trek references, nobody else would get them, and I'd just be like, oh, shit.
Something that maintains to this day, you making references that no one else gets.
Oh, all the time,
Yeah.
the time.
It's all right. It
I'm
happens
so
to me, too.
unapologetic about it, though. I'm just like, fuck
It's
it.
like, why are you're weird for not knowing my references?
Oh, you don't, yeah. So stuff that I would think was so, perfunctory, like, beam me up, Scotty, and everyone just kind of look at me. I was like, they have a oh, god damn it. Like, stuff like that.
I'm a doctor, not an engineer.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have, like, a moment
Well, I remember,
where-
like, in elementary school, like, I loved, listening to the Beatles, and everyone was just like, they're old. That's what my grandparents listened to. The Beatles, who listens to the Beatles?
Those are probably the same jackasses that in high school discovered the Beatles and were like, oh my god, they're the greatest band ever.
Probably,
Just
but, like,
because they're the Beatles. I have no real argument for why I love them so much.
It was, yeah, I mean, that...
Which is part of the reason why I am like, whatever, the Beatles. I mean, they're cool. I like them. They're a good band, but calm down.
Yeah. And then, like, I was in the comic books very early as a young kid, and then I kind of wasn't into them as much, but I remember, still, wearing Batman shirts, Superman shirts, and loving the characters, and people still not, because, it's weird. You think of a time now, because the Marvel movies are doing so well, and comic books in general are doing well, that, the comic book world is very different than it was in the 90s.
If I had mentioned Thor,
or even Iron Man, like you think of Iron Man now, everyone knows Iron Man, and I remember before I saw Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, I remember thinking there's going to be a huge shift, because I remember as a kid playing action figures or toys as Iron Man, like loving Iron Man. And I remember thinking there's going to be a moment, like this is the last moment where like no one's going to know who Iron Man is, and he's going to become huge. And I'm one of those guys. I love when characters get discovered, and people love them. There's some people who like, for example, I love Green Arrow, and when Arrow became a TV show and a great hit and sensation, I remember one of my friends saying, like, doesn't that suck that everyone like loves Green Arrow now? And I'm like, no, like I love the fact, that people love Green Arrow, and it
was never just mine.
Yeah, and he's a great character, and so I remember it's so awesome working at a comic shop, because there was this little kid who came in. And it was like when they were where we were talking like relaunching Iron Man as #1, even though it wasn't #1, but it was a new story. And so we had like these like free Iron Man masks, like cardboard masks you put on. And there was a little kid walking around. And little kids, for the most part, are the best part of like best comic book. They're best comic book fans because it's so simple to them. Like they're the best people. They don't care about continuity. They don't care about any other shit.
Does he look cool? Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, I didn't know shit about
punch bad guys. Cool.
When I was a kid, I didn't know shit about Moon Knight, but I knew I liked the way he looked, and so we gave the kids the mask. And when we were kids, I remember playing Iron Man. It would just be like, pew 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 pew. This kid, I told him to go attack one of our coworkers, Rob, and he goes up and he winds up the pulse, the pulsar rate. And he goes, beep, beep, and he's like doing like when he fires it, he like does the kind of recoil. Yeah. He does the recoil in his hands. He's like, and he's making all the perfect noises. I'm like, dude, years ago, no one would know what this is or would do this. To be, the fact that this kid is throwing on an Iron Man mask and is like perfectly knocking out these Iron Man moves, and he couldn't be older than 6 years old, is the best. Also, really quick, another funny little kid story. For the 75th anniversary of Batman, we were handing out the Batman masks.
Yeah, got one.
And
I got 2.
Yeah, nerd. And
were we gonna do that?
I know. I have them in my car. You know what's funny? I have them
mine right over there.
We've already done Batman and Robin, but if we hadn't done Batman and Robin, we wear the mask. But remember next time for the 100th anniversary,
because that'll be the next.
Yeah, that'll be the next time we watch
not
touching Batman movies because we've already watched them all. This kid came up and I remember going whichever, and I was like, you can pick one Batman mask, and we had the Grey Capullo mask, we had the Adam West mask, we had the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns like blue mask, and we had the Detective 27.
Yeah, you're
mask.
one.
The original.
Not even
Detective 27. Like, but it was described as a Bob Kane mask, so I thought we were getting masks of Bob Kane's face, which would have been terrifying. And so this kid comes up and he could barely reach the counter, and I looked down and I was like, all right, buddy. And his dad was there, and I was like, whatever mask you pick is going to dictate your Batman love for the rest of your life. And the kid looks at me like this is like a serious thing. And I'm like, it is serious.
It is serious.
And so I look down, and he's looking around, and he grabs the Frank Miller mask.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes! You can't read it for about another 10 years, but when you can finally read Frank Miller, you're going to freaking love it, kid. And the dad was like, yes. But the most popular...
Here's a free copy of the Dark Knight Returns.
Here's the free copy of All-Star Batman and Robin. They're going to have your world shattered by awesome.
Here's a free copy of Holy Terror.
Yeah.
here's a free copy of all 7 Sin Cities.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
That would have gotten you into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. But the for anyone who cares, I think the most popular mask it went Grey Capullo, because it was the most recognizable.
Right.
I think that was the one you got. Yeah. Grey Capullo, and then it was Frank Miller
because
Batman.
You took the Frank Miller.
Yeah.
I was like, well, if we're gonna,
Yeah, the Frank Miller Batman, Adam West Batman, and then Detective 27, which is a bummer. I love the look of Detective 27, but that was probably the most for younger kids. Didn't really know because it looks more bat-like with the ears and stuff. So.
I remember once I was sitting at a Panera, and I had my laptop open, and my background at the time was the Justice League as rendered by Alex Ross.
Mm-hmm.
And this little kid comes up behind me and is like, ooh, like, you've got the Flash and Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter. It's like, shit, Martian Manhunter?
Yeah.
Sweet,
You shouldn't be swearing at kids.
Yeah, sorry. Well,
that's another great thing too. Like at the shop, you have like
sorry, a little piece of shit.
all the little statues and busts, and there are kids who come in and they will name every single character, and the parents won't even know who they're talking
even
about.
Hawkman.
Everyone.
Hawk guy.
Hawkman.
Trying to think as a kid who my favorite like superhero, like obviously Batman, Superman, but I always remembered I gravitated toward Green Lantern because he had the power to make anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Chris, what was your like big first geek moment where you're like, oh, I like things that maybe
That was actually a really harsh time for me.
okay.
Yeah, well, it was so I can't remember exactly which one, but I think it was my 8th birthday. I had no, it would have had to have been 9th or beyond. So let's go ahead and say 9th birthday. And I had a Power Rangers themed birthday. So like Power Rangers decorative plates, cups, that kind of shit.
The whole shebang.
Well, mostly just like the plates and cups and napkins and stuff like that. Just the eatery. Everything else, we were at a go-kart track.
Yeah.
So my mom busted that all out, and she started, divvying up the food, and like all the kids started like teasing me for liking the Power Rangers, and I was like, why would anyone tease me for liking a good show? And like at that point, like I realized that like maybe my interests aren't the same as everyone else, and actually I learned from that to like kind of hide what I like so I wouldn't get teased, because it felt really bad. Like all these kids who I thought were like my best friends
On your special day.
on my special day. So I got teased for liking the Power Rangers, which now, almost 20 years later, 20 years later, like within the geek culture at least, which is now expanded quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like it's a huge thing to have liked Power Rangers.
Well, I remember everyone's like cheering on
Tommy, the Green Ranger,
whenever he shows up at cons.
Yeah.
And also they're rebooting the franchise with the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you the moment I got into comic books was I was at our
Superman
local
number 75.
Well, that was the first comic I remember buying. I know I had bought more before. There must have been. But that was
you
like...
had the issue, like Action Comics 8 or whatever, where he reveals his identity to Lois, yeah.
The issue before that. And then 20 years later,
yeah.
I bought the next issue. And I didn't realize that was like the last Superman issue I had bought. That's ridiculous. But I remember flipping through a comic shop when I was really young. Couldn't have been older than 5 or 6. And coming across a book. And I don't know if it was the actual single issue or collection, or if it was just a picture in some kind of magazine or a book somewhere else. But it was the picture at the of John Byrne's Superman, issue 1, where the last panel is it'll be a job for Superman, like after they make the suit, and he's flying up
with a big smile on his face.
With a smile on his face, with a really long cape. Kind of, I've always liked it, and maybe this is where it stems from. He was flying off the page at me, and I remember seeing that, and that was it. Like that. I mean, anytime I see that page, and I remember Baltimore last year, like I was lucky enough to buy the variant cover and for issue number 1 where that happens. And so that for me was everything. Like that was the moment that I was hooked. And then, it became, Batman, Superman, and then, Spider-Man came along.
I was always very protective of heroes as a kid, like reading them in comics. I was like, Superman can't die, as I'm watching him literally get beaten to death.
And like I said, we were like, at least the two of us, for like first real big like moment in comics in terms of buying it and making our parents drag us to the store, the comic store, and the comic line was wrapped around outside, was buying Superman 75. And on the playground, kids telling me Superman died, and it was the kind of thing like you were saying, it's Superman. Superman doesn't die. And then
Superman
I remember
can't bleed. I was beyond.
His suit can't rip. I mean, like I remember looking at the Superman 75, which is all splash pages, every single one of just a beatdown between him and Doomsday, and being like terrified and scarred at seeing his suit. There's that one panel where he's getting like his Doomsday's like bone spurs hitting him in the chin,
and you just see a spurt of blood
spraying out.
Yeah, and as someone that had grown up watching like the George Reeves Superman, even Christopher Reeve doesn't really meet an equal. I mean, he gets knocked around in Superman 2, but as a kid, it's like, oh, he doesn't have his powers. Like, when he's fighting Zod, you never see him actually bleed in his fight. He does get like the shit kicked out of him though. Yeah. But I was like, Superman can't bleed, and then the last page, Superman dies. And
you flip it. Lois is holding him, and you flip it over, and then he's like falls backward. And everyone's sobbing, and Mon probably kind of watching on TV, and they can't do anything.
They're holding each
and
other, crying. Yeah,
and it's just you hear but yeah, the fact of seeing Superman, his cape ripped off, his shirt ripped open, and just bloodied and bruised. Remember all the bruises he had all over his body?
And it's like Lois
welts. Even.
Just big welts everywhere.
Lois is supporting the most powerful man on Earth. It's the most pitiful you've ever seen Superman. That he's like barely clinging to life, and he's got like Jimmy and Lois right there, and it's just like that. Superman can't. Batman can't get crippled.
Yeah,
Spider-Man can't be a clone. I remember
that's the equivalent.
Yeah, kids were like on the playground. Were like, yeah, haven't you heard Scarlet Spider's the true Spider-Man? I was like, and this like 8-year-old Sam,
fuck yourself,
bull fucking shit.
No, but like seriously, like getting Superman 75 and be like, well, comic books are done. Like Superman's dead. What's the point?
Batman's crippled. Like Wonder Woman's a bad guy now.
Just to join in, that story arc was also my introduction to comic books. Not quite the same for me. I didn't really, I wasn't big into comics, but younger, as you can tell, Jake, since you have my pajama cape wrapped around your mic stand.
That's right.
Like I was big into Superman at a very young age, but then like I had started to kind of like reject that because I was like, I'm older, I'm 10, or whatever, and I'm walking past Another Universe. A nice place where you can get comics
in Springfield
Mall back when it would still exist. R.I.P. But
rest in purgatory.
Yeah, rotten purgatory.
Rotten purgatory.
Like I remember walking past Another Universe a couple months after Superman 75 had come out, and the trade was there, and it was like the death of Superman, and I was like, oh, cool. My childhood idol that I've since moved on, I've matured beyond is dead. Let me pick this up so I can read how it happens. And like I remember reading it and falling in love with Superman again. And then the last page
only for
him
to die in Lois's arms.
Fuck.
Yeah, such a downer. Such a downer.
And then I didn't pick up a comic for another 5 years. And then then they brought out, my mom handed me this article in the newspaper that talked about the electric blue Superman. And for some reason that got me back into comics.
That's what kicked me out. That's honest to God. It was Electric Blue Superman and Batman. Okay, here's what was happening. Well, finish your story and I'll tell you what kicked me out.
Electric Blue Superman comes out and I start reading comics again and I'm like, okay, these are weird. Let me see how the pieces fit together between, Death and Electric Blue. Because it's like...
Electric Blue Boogaloo.
Yeah, it's a good 5 years at least. Yeah. So I start picking up almost every single comic that happened between Death and Electric Blue.
Impressive.
And I'm like, wow, these stories are a lot better. The Return. I enjoyed the Reign of the Superman and the Return.
World Without Superman. Yeah,
that World Without a Superman is kind of boring, but it's like 10 issues where it's just like his funeral and Lois feeling bad about herself.
Bibbo buying all the Superman T-shirts in town to support all the.
Yeah, but that is covered in the first couple issues of Return, the Reign of the Superman, as well. So it's fine, but then things like Death of Clark Kent was intense, where like Brainiac tries to convince him that his death and whatnot was all just in his head, and they had that beautiful holographic cover for Superman number 100.
Oh yeah. I have some of those old I have Robin number 1 holographic.
Yeah, but yeah, shit like that. I was like, these are so much better.
What did you have another period after Electric Blue that kind of kicked you out?
With Superman, shortly after he returned to being normal Superman, he started becoming like empirical Superman, and he had all those like Superman androids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I can't fucking handle you anymore, Clark. You are going nuts.
You're going Reed Richards status.
Yeah. And like I just stopped, and I actually haven't really picked up Superman since. Like I've read some of the new 52 like action comics and
Read
stuff like
the
that.
Jeff Johns stuff.
Yeah, the stuff right now, issue 32 and 33.
I can't stand John Romita Jr.
Well, no,
I'm caught up on the 32 and 33, like in terms of like stuff now.
But I meant the Jeff Johns run on Action Comics where he starts off, he co-writes it with Richard Donner. He writes a General Zod story. And
The Last Son of Krypton?
The Last Son of Krypton, which is packaged with that trade also packaged it with Brainiac. But he does he writes some of the best Superman I've read in a while. Read Birthright by Mark Waid, and then just like
I like Earth 1.
Earth one's the first volume's okay.
Mm-hmm. I like Earth 2, but
Yeah.
I mean volume 2.
Yeah. What did anything kind of kick you out of comics for a while?
Well, I don't know if it was just moving around military bases and just not being around like a local comic shop and I think just I think I just kind of slowly was out of it, and it wasn't like I was like, I'm done with comic books, and it just kind of became a thing, kind of fell off of it. And then funny enough, I think I was in a Barnes and Noble, and like I'd always enjoyed comic book films, the Batman movies, of course, The Rocketeer, and Dick Tracy and stuff, the pulpy stuff. And then I don't know, it feels like this is so many people say this when it comes to coming back in the comics. And it's funny, this is a book that brings me back in the comics because it is such a story about return and stuff. But it's The Dark Knight Returns is the comic book that just sucked me back in. And it was more of
that's the one that got me into Batman.
It wasn't necessarily like back in the comic books, like single issues. It was back into everything Batman. Not short after that, it was Year One, Long Halloween, Dark Victory, and it was just everything Batman. And this is probably a year or so before Batman Begins comes out.
So about 2004.
2004, 2005.
Yeah, because Begins comes out.
And just, I it's funny because I remember reading The Dark Knight Returns, and I never, I always had a fond memory of going through my old comic collection. I had never thought comics were beneath me or kids' books. But I remember reading Dark Knight Returns and being like, holy crap, like this, I had this old VHS about like the history of Batman. It's so old that at the end of the VHS, Batman 89 has not come out yet. And they're talking about like, this is the big one coming out. And they're like, new Dark Knight Return, blah, blah, blah. And I was watching that somewhere because it's funny to get it on DVD actually, because that was like my Bible for comic book stuff as a kid. And I remember seeing the pose, the lightning stroke, him striking the pose in front of the lightning. So much so that when I watched the Dark Knight Returns animated film, I'm almost like a weepy mess when he strikes that pose because it's such a beautiful little nod. Because it's funny, that doesn't happen in the comic. He doesn't, that actual panel. It's a cover, but it's not actually in the comics. That's a nice little nod. But reading The Dark Knight Returns just changed everything. And at the time, I wasn't like a Born Again Superman fan. That wasn't until actually way later that I really like fell in love with Superman again. And so much so that he's like easily my favorite superhero of all time. But so in the end, I was like, yeah, fuck him up, Batman, with the whole Superman thing. Yeah. And now it's cool because now I'm looking at it as such an equal fan of both of them again, like I was when I was a little kid.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that knocked me out of comics right around the end of elementary school was like Electric Blue Superman. And I was just like, well, what the fuck? I don't want Superman to be...
Although, didn't you buy a bunch of issues, though, like just at one of the Comic-Cons? You had to get them, right?
I was just like,
I've got probably like 4 or 5 different variants of that first issue of Superman, the glow-in-the-dark one.
Yeah. I just got the regular, but I was like, what the hell? And then meanwhile... Batman was fighting Ebola, which is probably more topical now than it was like in the late 90s.
Yeah,
but
super scary.
Yeah, I was like, well, why is Batman not fighting like the Joker, or Ra's al Ghul, or somebody? He's taking on
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, he's taking on like Ebola. He's punching a non-existent foe, and
in the face.
And over on the Marvel side, they had something called.
Wait, are you saying that Ebola is non-existent? That it's not real?
You can't punch.
It's a mighty stance.
You can't punch Ebola. Not really. But so over on the Marvel side, there was this thing called the Onslaught Saga, where basically Xavier inadvertently creates this huge villain that kills the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and maybe just the Avengers and the Fantastic Four. But either way, like
that's a lot of people,
yeah.
though.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and they were reborn in pocket universes, and I was like, well, fuck this. This is like 11-year-old me. It's just like, yeah.
So if anyone's ever met 11-year-old Sam Stone, they know that he says things like "fuck this."
Yeah. That's where it all started with the fucking, but the linguistically anyway. But the so yeah, I was kind of out of comic books for a good long while, and then I saw when I saw Batman Begins, it kind of caught me at like a perfect moment because it's, oh God, I'm about to bring the mood down. Like, so I had just lost a mother, and I'm kind of like this angry kid, and then you see this film about trying to channel like pain and rage into something positive, and it would be a huge thing. It was a huge thing to finally see that and it kind of just caught me at the right time. And so I was like, oh wow, this is like fucking awesome. This is why I love these characters. And on the if you got the 2-disc Batman Begins DVD, it came with a limited edition comic that had it had 3 different comics. It had Detective Comics number 27, because everything Batman retrospective related has, and it had the first issue of The Long Halloween. And it was that first issue of The Long Halloween. I was like, my God, it kind of has this timeless feel like Batman the Animated Series. I need to get this. And I went to the local Barnes & Noble. I was in college at the time when the DVD finally came out, and I got The Long Halloween and read that book cover to cover, and that's what reignited my love of comics.
Yeah, well, The Long Halloween, basically, for me, like I said, it was pretty close after The Dark Knight Returns. Same thing. I remember cover to cover. That's 12 issues, cover to cover, and just being blown away. I love the art in it, of course. Like, that was the coolest thing. And then it was an actual detective story. Yeah.
Yeah. But, so I think it's been a good kind of exploration of our geeky super secret origins.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of, we went off the rails a bit. I forgot what we were talking about way back at the beginning of this thing.
True Detective.
True Detective.
So that's our take
summary
on
of
True Detective.
Yeah. Good to know. So watch True Detective, read The Long Halloween, and yeah.
I do want to say
Grant Morrison.
Yeah, and read all the Grant Morrison you can find.
And pause the podcast right now and watch
the Mad Max Fury Road trailer. 2015 belongs to the Mad.
I have to say, even knowing I was a geek, I was never ashamed of it. I always kind of let my geek flag fly.
Yeah, and I'm happy for you that you never felt shamed for being a geek.
Well, I certainly got teased for it, but I was like, "Fuck yourself! I'm gonna still do it."
Yeah, no, you had the je ne sais quoi to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, the ability to still wear Velcro shoes well into my teens.
Jesus.
Well, that's fucking weird.
It's all right. You are in good company with the manager at University Mall Theater.
Awesome.
Because he hates tying his laces, so he just wears Velcro shoes. No,
hey,
good for him.
Different strokes for him.
Yeah, what you gotta do. Yeah. I will say, if we're about to wrap it up, it is technically Sam Stone's birthday.
And Jake Bozik's.
Oh, sorry.
I
talked over you.
Born
and
on the
Jake's
same
birthday.
day. Got back in the Batman around the same time.
Drive the same car.
Sleep in the same bed.
Live in the same house. Like the same comic characters.
Yeah. That's
have the same T-shirts.
Mostly.
Not at the same time.
No.
Thank God.
Although we're both wearing Marvel shirts right now.
Yeah. You've got the
fucking nerds.
Spider-Man 300 variant.
Yeah.
And I've got the Infinity Gauntlet.
By the way, he just had to check.
I had to check. It could have been like Captain America, like doing like
Coke.
Demon in a bottle.
Captain America, demon in a bottle.
Demon on a shield.
You guys have anything you want to share before we beam out?
I just, want to wish a good night to Eric Bana. And
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have I already talked? I feel like I already did mine, like earlier.
I don't know what yours is.
Yeah,
I'm just actually saying.
Oh no! Yeah, we did.
Did we? Oh, we did. Oh yeah. But do you want to say it one more time?
Yeah, do the actual
like,
quote.
Oh,
like him.
Channel some Grant Morrison.
Yeah. You can't put a lid on your life. What are you slurping? That's actually a shitty idea, guys, because it overflows.
Well, the idea.
Well, let your life overfloweth.
Yeah.
Let your cup overfloweth.
Yeah.
With Slurpee.
Runneth over.
Runneth with sweet Slurpee. Sweet ice, flavored ice. All right. This has been another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And see you on the other side, guys.
See you.
Bye.